Hey, Dr. Brad Klontz here. I'm super excited to be talking with you about some key principles in my best-selling book, Money Mammoth. Harness the power of financial psychology to evolve your money mindset, avoid extinction, and crush your financial goals. Let's get right into it. Hey, welcome. So in this video, we're talking money scripts. Let's get right into it. It's chapter 9 in Money Mammoth. This is our theory of financial psychology, financial flashpoints, which is the last video. You can find a link to it right up here if you wanted to start with number 1. Those are our early experiences around money. The financial flashpoints of ourselves, it could be our parents, our grandparents, these profound experiences, these memories we have around money that lead directly to our money scripts. We're going to be talking about money scripts. These are beliefs around money. For most of us, they're unconscious. So I want you to become conscious of your beliefs around money as I'm telling you these stories and as I'm showing you this research. What are your beliefs around money? Because studies have shown that these beliefs predict your income, your net worth, a whole host of financial behaviors. So it's incredible if you really want to harness the power of financial psychology for you to understand what your mindset is. And you came by it honestly from those flashpoint experiences or those of your parents or grandparents. And what studies have found is that these beliefs around money, these money scripts, predict all sorts of financial behaviors and essentially your outcomes, which of course leads to a bunch of other financial flashpoint experiences for you and your children and your grandchildren. So let's get on top of this by understanding what are your money scripts. If you wanted to take the test that we have used with thousands of people in our research studies, I'm going to tell you exactly where you can take it. You can take it for free, and it'll give you an entire profile with an analysis of your beliefs around money compared to other people who come from different walks of life and are having different financial outcomes than you, whether it's better or worse. And you can take that test at moneyscripts.com. Just type that in, take it. It's my test. The results will be emailed to you automatically. That's it. Then you have your results. So what are money scripts? Money scripts tend to be multi-generational. So these are beliefs we get. Quite often we inherit them from our parents, from our grandparents, of course, based on their experiences. But what we've noticed is that these belief patterns tend to travel in families. Okay, so for example, in the last video, I talked about the story of my grandfather going to the bank and all his money is gone. It's the Great Depression. What a profound emotional experience that is. So the money script he got resulting from that is you can't trust banks with your money. Of course, all these experiences make perfect sense when you understand the belief. And the belief makes perfect sense if you understand the experience. So of course you can't trust banks. He lived through that experience. Now, of course it became dysfunctional because the federal government came in and started guaranteeing bank accounts, right? So you can't lose money. And they realized they had to do this because the entire country was traumatized and nobody was ever going to put money in a bank again. That's when it became dysfunctional. So we need to be flexible in our beliefs so that we can adapt and change. And it becomes dysfunctional when we're less flexible. And why do we become less flexible around our beliefs? We're attached to them, but usually because of some intense emotional experience. So these things are multi-generational. So then, of course, my mom comes around and guess what? She's anxious about financial institutions. Of course she is. She didn't live through that experience with my grandfather, but she felt it. She felt the energy. Maybe he even told her about it. I don't know. But my grandfather never put a dollar in the bank the rest of his life based on that experience. You can't trust banks. That's when it becomes dysfunctional. For most of us, money scripts are learned in childhood. With a childlike mind as we are children trying to make sense of the world, right? So we don't have a bunch of nuance. We don't have a bunch of context. So for example, if you grow up in a family and everyone's miserable and hates each other and you happen to have money, now just imagine that scenario. And then you go to your friend's house and they're dirt poor and everybody seems lovey-dovey. As a child, you might think, rich people aren't happy and poor people are happy because that's your direct experience, right? So all of a sudden this starts to make sense, right? This is the understanding we have. These are developed in childhood when we're not really thinking everything through. We don't know all the context. For most of us, since we don't talk about money, these beliefs are subconscious. They lie in our subconscious. And so we're not even aware of these things. And the reason we call them scripts is because they're almost like scripts in a play and they're just playing this thing out. And sometimes it's been written, generations ago. And here you are playing out this script, this belief pattern around rich people, poor people, what's money, what's credit, what sort of possibilities can I have in my life? Do I feel like I'm the master of my life in the sense that I can have whatever I want? Or do I feel like the deck is stacked against me and it's hopeless? These are beliefs. We have different beliefs. People come from the exact same situation. the exact same upbringing, the exact same culture, the exact same religion, race, can have radically different experiences because they have different beliefs. So for most of us, they're subconscious. And when they're subconscious, that's when they become more dangerous because we have no idea what tapes are playing. Money scripts are all partially true. They all have elements of truth in them. You give me the craziest belief around money and I can point out how there's situations in which it's true. So like for my grandfather, you can't trust banks with your money. Yeah, they're totally situationally true back in the Great Depression. And as a matter of fact, if he had that belief before the Great Depression hit, my family would probably be much better off than it is right now, right? And so these beliefs always have elements of truth. And it's really important to acknowledge that element of truth. They tend to be resistant to change, partially because they are unconscious, subconscious, and partially because we have a lot of emotion attached to them. But what our studies have found is that these beliefs predict your behaviors. They drive all of your financial behaviors. And so if you are not getting the financial outcomes you want in life right now, you need to understand what your money scripts are. You need to understand what your money scripts are, because if you do, you now have the power to transform your life. Change your beliefs and your behaviors are going to naturally follow. Change your beliefs, your outcomes are going to get different. They're going to become different. And one of the hacks I love is to find people who are operating at a level that I am striving for, whether that's a higher net worth, whether that's a higher income, whether that's some achievement that I would like to get, and pick their brains. I want to understand what their money scripts are, because I know that if I can adopt that belief, I can get that result. So that's why it's so incredibly important. And these things are also very cultural. They're very culturally bound. So your beliefs, depending on your cultural experience, were you Appalachian? Were you poor? Were you wealthy? Did you come from a different country that has different beliefs around money? Beliefs tend to associate with the culture of your political affiliation, very different beliefs around money. So these things have a tendency to be cultural in the sense that we collect and them from people around us, and we sort of clump together with people who have similar beliefs. And so if you want to become wealthy, you might need to get out of some of that poor culture and some of that poor thinking to look at least experimentally, like, how are they looking at the world, right? And if you are wealthy and all of a sudden you lose a bunch of money, you're probably going to be pretty miserable. So you want to study the culture of poor people and how they're happy. There's plenty of very happy poor people. So how are they looking at the world? What are they doing? So it works actually both ways. So it's almost like learning a new culture, learning a new language if you want to climb that socioeconomic ladder. So study the mindsets of people that you want to emulate, people you want to be like, people whose outcomes you want to enjoy in your own life. Very, very important hack. So in our studies, we have found 4 categories of money scripts. So if you go take that money script inventory, you're going to see that you're higher in one of these categories, lower in others. 3 are self-destructive and 1 is actually good for you. So I'm going to go through what these are and what they're associated with. So the first one is called money avoidance. So here's a person running away from money, right? So what do I mean by that? It's beliefs like rich people are greedy, money corrupts. You can't get rich unless you're taking advantage of other people. Good people shouldn't care about money. There's virtue in having less money. This is an entire belief set. It's an entire belief pattern. And what's so interesting about this money script, you can always trace it back to some wealthy person doing something mean and terrible. And if you have this belief set, you're going to be constantly looking for all the examples of terrible wealthy people, and you're going to be screening out all the information showing you that actually there's some people who've done incredibly great things in the world with money. And so money can be used to make the world a much better place. So this is probably not going to be a big surprise, but money avoidant beliefs are associated with having lower income, lower net worth, being younger, single, and less educated. This is a pattern you're going to see. There's something about, obviously we get wiser as we get older. Education makes us smarter. And there's something about having a partner who kind of calls us on our BS. And so that's one of the benefits of having a partner. Like, for example, my wife, I'm very vigilant around money and I'm an underspender. And when I met my wife, I had lawn chairs in my living room for furniture. Like, that's at the level I was in terms of saving money. And so my wife balanced me out, right? She's like, hey, we should get a couch. What's wrong with you? And so obviously I had an extreme approach to money. My wife helped balance me out. And that seems to be a pattern we see where people who are in a relationship with other people have a tendency to be financially healthier. And frankly, you make more money as a household. It's just basic, common sense when you have 2 people working. And this money avoidance pattern is also associated with, terrible financial outcomes. So you don't want to be money avoidant. It's only partially true too. This is the other thing you need to think. Of course, There are rich, greedy, nasty people out there. But there are plenty examples of people who have money who are doing tremendous good in the world. And there's so many examples of this. For example, Andrew Carnegie, the second richest man in the world, like back, I believe, in the 1800s, 1900s, he made 3,000 libraries. He funded 3,000 libraries in 47 states and 8 countries. Super, super rich. And that's what he chose to do with his money. Lots and lots of examples of people like that. And so part of the combating this money avoidance thing is to just open your mind, become aware of how people are using money for good. And that's my message to you. I want good people to have the money. Of course I do. Because you know why? I know you're going to do good things with it. Don't we want that? Think about this. If all the good people in the world avoided all the money, then where is all that money going to matriculate? Where is it going to end up? It's going to end up in the hands of people who are bad if all the good people are avoiding it. So here's what I want. I want you to become incredibly wealthy, and I want you to do incredible good things in the world. That's what I want you to do. That's your mission. And these are also the facts. The most philanthropic people in terms of how much money is being donated to make the world a better place, are they wealthy or are they poor? They're wealthy. And that's just the fact. It doesn't mean that poor people can't be generous, and many are very, very generous, but they don't have to give, the wealthy people, but they do. And many of them feel very, very strongly about it. Now, of course, that's not everybody. So the key is this. If you don't change your extreme negative association with money and rich people, you're absolutely never, ever going to become wealthier. And again, I want you to become wealthier because the more money you have, the more good you can do in the world. All right, the second money script pattern we've seen in our research is what we call money worship. These are people who are very much focused on money. They have beliefs like money is power. More money will make me happier. More money is going to solve all my problems. Money buys freedom. Things in my life would get better if I had more money. Now, this happens to be a pattern that's pretty ubiquitous in the United States. Like we all think that more money is going to make us happier. Our studies have found, though, that this is associated with actually having less money, lower net worth, being younger, single, and less educated. That's a pattern you're going to see here, and a whole host of money disorders and problematic financial behaviors. Money is not really the key to happiness. And the problem with this belief set is that it also leads to stuff. So you think more money is going to make you happier, you're going to think more stuff's going to make you happier. And so we have a tendency to overspend because we're constantly looking for that sense of happiness. So it's destructive in that sense. It's also associated with higher credit card debt. Again, we're trying to spend our way to happiness. So what do we know about money and happiness? Let's look into the research just a little bit. There's an incredible study that was done years ago where they looked at lottery winners and accident victims. And these accident victims were people who had an injury, a chronic injury as a result of this accident. And they looked at happiness and life satisfaction. And you're not going to believe what they found. And you probably are getting a hint since I'm talking about this, because logically you're going to think, well, of course I'm going to be happier if I win the lottery than if I get into an accident and have an injury, a permanent injury, right? Well, you're right for a while. So initially those lottery winners were happier, but over time the accident victims actually reported greater life satisfaction than the lottery winners. Now, why is that the case? Why is that the case? Lots of theories related to this. We all have a tendency to adapt to changing circumstances. Those accident victims found more joy in the little things in life. And I think what happened to those lottery winners is they had this fantasy that more money, more stuff's going to make me happier. And then it's sort of like looking behind the curtain in The Wizard of Oz and you realize, yikes, it's actually, I'm still who I am. It's not really making me happier. And I think that's a huge disappointment. And then we're left wondering, what the heck am I supposed to do now? And you'll see this when a lot of people have massive financial success. They end up having an existential crisis around meaning in life. It's like, man, so it was all about the hustle for me. It was all about the hard work. It was all about achieving that goal. And then I achieved that goal and it's like, whoa, I'm not magically happy and all my problems aren't magically gone. What am I going to do now? I hope you become wealthy, but just understand it's not going to fix all the problems in your life. And as a matter of fact, it's going to create more problems for you. The other thing is this concept of adaptation in another way. So they've done studies where they asked people who made $30,000 a year, how much money do you need to make to be happy? And guess what they said? 50,000. Yeah, I need 50,000. And then when you ask people make 50,000, how much they want and how much they think it'll make them happy, guess what they say? 100,000, 100,000. And then if you ask people make 100,000, how much money do you need to be happy? They say 250,000. Are you noticing a pattern here? It's the hedonic treadmill is what we call it in psychology, where we're never satisfied. We're never satisfied. You're never going to be satisfied unless you learn to be satisfied right now. And I mean it right now. I know that you might be struggling. I know you might not be where you want to be financially, Find ways to be happy right now in your life. That is the practice. And if you can get good at that, you can become happy when you're wealthier. As a matter of fact, money can actually increase your happiness if you are good at being happy. So practice every step along the way. Immerse yourself in the process of achieving success. Find joy and passion in that, because there's no amount of money that's going to magically make you better, that's going to solve all your problems, that's going to solve that existential meaning in life angst. It's just not going to happen. And it's a fool's errand. Again, I hope you become wealthier. This is why I'm talking to you. I want you to be successful, but understand it's not going to solve all your problems. Studies have shown there's no significant correlation too between money and a happiness above income in the United States of about $75,000. Now, this is a study that's been replicated many times. And what I've noticed is it seems to track the median level of income in the United States. So essentially, if you're able to pay for your housing, clothes, basic food, basic necessities, and you're about middle class, that's kind of the level in which happiness sort of peaks, okay, in terms of money and happiness. And it makes sense. Like if you look around and you're like, I'm just as good off as everyone else. And, I seem to be sort of in the middle of the tribe, if you will. You don't feel like it's dangerous. You don't feel like you're not getting your needs met. You feel like you belong. And that's a huge part of the psychology, is we want to feel like we belong. It's the keeping up with the Joneses. It's not about greed, in my opinion. It's about, where's my position in the tribe, and am I going to be happy, and am I going to be safe? So money is a tool. It's not going to make you happier. And what's interesting about tools is tools can be used to build something beautiful, or they can be used to totally destroy something. And I've seen money destroy families. You may have seen it too. The fact is that money can be used to buy more happiness, but it's not sustained happiness. And it's usually when we're spending it on experiences, okay? So when you're using money to help your values, help exercise your values in service of your values, and by that I mean to give you more freedom, more security, more adventure, more close relationships. And what do I mean by that? Like the ability to own your time so you can spend more time with your family, public service, free time, exploring the arts, personal growth. That's when money can improve your life. Spending time with people you love, that connection. That is what actually makes us happier. Happiness is an inside job, people. It comes from connection with ourselves, connection with others, following our passions, our spiritual connection. When we use money properly, money can increase our happiness. But I'm going to tell you this right now. You don't need to wait, and you shouldn't wait. Okay? You shouldn't wait to find ways to immerse yourself in having a good experience, looking around at the beauty all around you. And if you can get really good at that, then I have a lot of confidence that you're going to do a fabulous job with more money, and it's not going to destroy your life, which it does to a lot of people. And you can actually make the world a better place. But start right now. Don't wait. The third category of money scripts we found in our research is what we call money status. These are beliefs like your self-worth equals your net worth. I'm not going to buy something unless it's new. If something isn't the best, I'm not going to buy it. And interestingly, if you ask me how much money I make, I'm probably going to tell you I make more than I actually do. Now, what's fascinating about this, these are the people you see on Instagram and probably on YouTube. And what they're doing is selling this image that they have money. But what our studies have found is actually the opposite. And we're not the only ones who've studied this. If you read the book Millionaire Next Door, lots of studies on this, including our own. That's not how wealthy people spend, guys. It's not. So this money status belief, this keeping up with the Joneses, it's associated with lower income, lower net worth, being younger, single, and less educated, higher credit card debt, and growing up in poorer homes. And so really that's what you're seeing. You're seeing people front this wealth because they want to show the world that they're valuable. And this is where we get tempted, like when we get our first higher paying job, let's just say you're out of college and man, you landed a great job, 75,000 a year, 100,000 a year. And what do? You go buy an Omega watch or a Rolex, you lease a Mercedes, you get an apartment, all of a sudden you're spending at that limit of your income. This is the keeping up with the Joneses. This is the money status belief, and it's going to keep you poor. These outward displays of wealth, this isn't how wealthy people actually spend. So what's so interesting about it is that wealthy people tend to look a little bit more poor. and the hard part is that you're thinking right now of all these examples that prove me wrong, right? You're thinking of celebrities and how they flash all their wealth and all of that. And we'll see if they're still wealthy. Do you know how many examples there are of people who get instant wealth and they look like they're living this incredibly lavish lifestyle, and you look under the hood and they have all this debt and they end up filing for bankruptcy? These stories are all over the place, people. And so what studies have found is that wealthy people actually downplay how much they spend, which leads me to the next category. So be really, really aware of that keeping up with the Joneses effect, because it's extremely detrimental. And just understand this, Actual wealthy people, all the studies are showing this to be true. They're not into the outward displays of wealth. You know what they're into? Saving and investing. They're into actually not spending money. It is the definition of wealth, is to hold on to some of that money and not spend it all. The fourth category we found in our studies is called Money Vigilant. And hopefully if you took the Money Script inventory at moneyscripts.com, this is the category that you have the highest score. And if not, you need to work on this. This is the mindset you need to adopt if you want to become wealthy, because our studies found this is the mindset of wealthy people. These are beliefs like money should be saved, not spent. Now, that's kind of an extreme belief, right? But you can see how this leads to very high bank accounts and higher net worth. It's important to save for a rainy day. You know, one of the shocking things about these studies I found is that there's actually people who don't think it's important to save for a rainy day. It's important to save for a rainy day, people. If you want to become wealthy, you got to do it. And this is what wealthy people are doing. They have a savings mindset. They don't have a spending mindset. I'd be a nervous wreck if I did not have money saved for an emergency. So what you're picking up on here too is some anxiety, a little bit like, hey, I need to save. This is something that's important. It's sort of that squirrel who's worried about the winter, right? You got to have some of that vigilance if you want to actually climb the socioeconomic ladder. This is what all the studies are showing. If somebody asked me how much money I made, I'd tell them I make less than I actually do. Now wrap your head around that one. That is the millionaire mindset. It's the opposite of the money status. If you ask me how much money I made, I'm going to tell you I make less than I actually do. It's a tough thing to wrap your head around, but just trust me. We've done this with thousands of people at this time, and this is the wealthy mindset. This is most wealthy people. I just want to challenge you not to get stuck on these examples that don't fit into this box of most ultra wealthy people. Don't get stuck on that. It's a temptation because that's a confirmation bias. That tells me you already have this belief about who you think wealthy people are. And I'm presenting literally facts. And by the way, I don't care who these people are. I'm interested in it, but I didn't care how these results came out. I was actually pretty surprised, okay? And all I'm interested in is in the truth. I'm not trying to sell you anything here. Well, other than my book, obviously, and perhaps my course. But I'm not trying to sell you on these ideas. Not at all. I'm just interested in the truth. What we found in our studies, money vigilant people tend to have higher income, higher net worth, lower credit card debt, and better overall financial health. So what are your money scripts? What are your money scripts? Which one of these patterns did you associate yourself with? If you're really, really honest with yourself, did you take the money scripts test? I encourage you to do it. Your financial behaviors and your outcomes will make perfect sense if you understand your money scripts, where they came from, by looking at the Financial Flashpoints video that I just put out. What's driving these behaviors? What is predicting your income, your net worth? It's your money scripts. So understand your money scripts. If you love this stuff, I just want to point you to bradklontz.com. I have the Financial Health Academy there, which is a huge deep dive online course. I've got all my latest research in there around financial health and tools we've used to help people save more money. Like, for example, one study, after 90 minutes, we got people to save 73% more money when they walked out the room, and they just carried that forward. I've got that exact protocol in this course. Check it out. Let me know what you think. And then, of course, Money Mammoth, where this information is coming from. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.